and fewer crossbows, 20% maximum, than hill dwarf armies. So essentially their weapons are the same, except more spears and fewer crossbows. So we're going to look at the area where it talks about hill dwarf weapons. Okay, they've got axe and hammer, sword and spear, sword and light crossbow, sword and polearm, axe and heavy crossbow, axe and mace, or hammer and pick. Okay. %30 here. Crossbow, heavy crossbow. Oh, I see. Okay. So they reduced that by 5% and increased another one by 10%. That doesn't make sense. 30% maximum, fewer crossbows, 20% maximum. Well, that doesn't matter because we're not using D100s to figure this out. So when we're done making this table, it's going to have 105% on it, but that doesn't matter one bit because it literally rolls a D105. So however many sides you put on this die is what you get. Okay, so the first one, let's see, we're going to need premium assets, free assets. I like to use Devon Knight's token packs. He's a really good artist. I love his art. He makes real good tokens. So I already made hill dwarves, and I like to make hill dwarves and mountain dwarves look different. So what I did was I used tokens like this for hill dwarves. Your standard Tolkien-esque dwarf is a hill dwarf, essentially. That's also the basic dwarf from the player's handbook is a hill dwarf. So when you stereotypically think of dwarves, you're thinking of hill dwarves. So the mountain dwarves look a little different. They are lighter skinned, like this. You can see the difference between skin color. And then they have lighter colored hair, like blonde and red. And then they usually have blue eyes instead of earth tone eyes, like black and gray and brown. So usually lighter eyes, you know, green and blue. So let's see, our first dwarf is gonna be axe and hammer. So I guess between those two weapons, it would probably be axe would be their main weapon and hammer would be their secondary. So I'm just gonna use this token. I'd prefer to use a guy that had a battle axe though. That looks like a hand axe to me because it only has one side. You'd be able to throw a hand axe, whereas a battle axe you can't really throw. So whenever they say axe, mace or hammer and pick. So whenever they say axe, I think they mean a battle axe, and whenever they say hammer, they mean a war hammer. So I'm just gonna find a token that has a battle axe. If not, we can come back and use this one. I want one of these lighter skinned guys. There we go, there's a perfect one. That's a battle axe. You see how the blade has two sides? And he's got blonde hair, so that's perfect. There's your standard dwarf warrior for mountain dwarves, and it said more spears, fewer crossbows. Okay, so this is going to be the standard amount, 25%. So where it says weight, you just increase that to 25. And we're going to call this guy axe and hammer. So axe and hammer. Okay, and then we're going to save changes. And then we're going to add item again. And we're going to go through all of these. So sword and spear. Between those two, spear is going to be the one you use first. I mean, it's going to be the most apparent weapon, right? So sword or spears are usually long. Swords you keep in a scabbard. So I'm just going to pick a spear guy, and it's supposed to be 30% instead of 20%. So I want a Viking-looking dwarf. See, that's a hill dwarf. That would have been perfect, but that's the wrong kind of dwarf. There we go. There's a guy. That's a spear, right? That looks like a spear to me. Okay. So I'm going to increase that to 30. Okay, and that's sword and spear. Okay, next one is going to be sword and light crossbow. And the crossbows are reduced to 20% maximum. Oh, 20% maximum, okay. So we're going to make this one 10%, yeah. And this one 10%, yeah. So it's still going to, it's going to be 105. So sword and light crossbow. Okay, so basically we gotta find one of these guys that has crossbows that looks like he's holding a light crossbow, and then another one that looks like a heavy crossbow. So that's gonna be kind of challenging. So that kind of looks like he's pretty pale. So we'll make that a light crossbow. Because that's a pretty small crossbow to me, I guess. And I guess the really fast way to find crossbowmen is if you click up here and then you hit Control F and you see it pops up a search over here, and you just type in crossbow. And that way it will highlight the ones that they have. So this guy, that's about the same size. He's just wearing a different color armor. His hair is a different color. That guy has earth tone hair, so I don't want to use him. And that's the one we're using. Let's see. There's another one that has dwarves. I think it is this one here. Dark L something. Doesn't look like any of them have crossbows though. And these dwarves are not, they're atypical looking dwarves. Most of these guys are bald and have tattoos. So special kinds of dwarves basically. Oh, that kind of looks like a light crossbow, and this could be heavy. But too bad he's bald. Damn it. Archer. Well, I guess I can make a compromise. Or I could just use one of these pirates. There's a pirate that looks kind of dwarfy, and he's got this huge crossbow. Let's see. Nobles. Was it nobles? I don't think it was nobles. Red creatures, orcs, soldiers, goblins, nobles, winter, something, characters. Maybe it's up here. Pirates, there we go. So this guy, he kind of looks like he could be a dwarf. And that is a big-ass crossbow. So... I think I'll use him as the heavy crossbowman. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this was gonna be our sword and light crossbow, 10%. Okay, and our next item is the sword and polearm. So let's find a dwarf that looks like he's a mountain dwarf guy. So that's a polearm-ish thing, but we already used that for spear, so... Huh. Is that a spear, or is that a spear? These both look like Viking-esque. Oh, and we've got this one too. See, Devon Knight did this on purpose. This is obviously mountain dwarves, and they have more spears, right? That's a female, it looks like. Which one did we use before? So it's a blonde guy with a round hat. He's wearing a chainmail coif. And this guy is wearing an actual helmet. So, let's see. I'll just close this for a second. Which one did we use? We used the guy with the helmet as the spear dude. I think I want to go back on that and use this guy with the helmet, and that kind of looks like a speedum to me. And we can use the other one as a polearm. How's that? This one looks a little more simple. Yeah, okay, so that'll be the spear. And then this one with the helmet with the fancy shaft will be the polearm. That's definitely not a polearm. That could be a lucerne hammer, which I think is a polearm. Let's see, purple worm. Let's see, index, find, master, weapons, table from combat and tactics, and find lucerne hammer. How about polearm? There we go. Yeah, lucerne hammer is definitely a polearm. We could say that mountain dwarves have lucerne hammers. Sure. Okay, so we will use this guy as the polearm dude. And we'll call that a lucerne hammer. Yeah. And then this guy we will remove and just overwrite with this dude that has a better looking spear. That spear's awesome. Okay. So we'll save that. Sword and spear. And it was sword and polearm. So we'll call this sword, whoops, capitals. Sword and polearm. Polearm. And that was 10%. Okay, save those changes. Add another item, and this one was the heavy crossbow. So we'll go back to that pirate guy with the heavy crossbow. What, did I pass it again? There it is. Okay, pirates. Where are you? There we go. So that's axe and heavy crossbow. And that was 10%. Save those changes. Then add another one. And our next one is axe and mace. 10%. So if you don't grab a token that has a mace, it's going to be a little confusing because you already got one with an axe. So we're going to want to grab a mace guy, or at least some, one that has some kind of bludgeoning weapon. And maces are a little rare. I do know of at least one that has a mace, but I don't think it's in this particular collection. I think it's in another one. I think it's in characters, actually. I think it's called a dwarf caster. Okay, let's click in here and find dwarf, and we'll close this collection. Just so we can quickly find... There's a mace. Okay. And I think that's actually the only dwarf that has a mace. So... Oh, nope. There we go. It's a pretty badass mace right there. Let's use that one. Although that looks like a two-handed mace. But I think I did use the other one for hill dwarves. I used this one for hill dwarves, so yeah, I better use this one for mountain. That's a cool token. It's just a little wide, so when it goes onto the map, it's really small. Okay, so that was axe and mace, 10%. Okay. Alright, so I think there was one more. Hammer and pick. Oh, by the way, this website where I'm getting this information is, it's www.lomion.de. I guess I'll put a link to this website in the description of this video, so that you can see how I'm getting all this information. Okay, so hammer and pick. So we'll use a dwarf that has a pick. That should be interesting. I think picks might do more damage than hammers anyway, warhammers anyways. Especially the larger picks. Okay, so we'll just search for pick. Huh. Could have sworn there was a dwarf that had a pick in here. There he is. Dwarf warrior. He doesn't look very Viking-esque, but that's a female dwarf. Yeah, I'll just use this one. There aren't very many dwarf tokens that have picks. Unless you use one of those dark dwarves or whatever. This dwarf does look very hill dwarfy, which is unfortunate. I guess I could check in characters. Oh, I opened the wrong one. No way. That looks like a really good warhammer to me, but yeah. It's another good warhammer. So that's a really interesting pick. It's like a four-sided pick. Mace, crossbow, dual hammers. Pretty good battle axe. That's a really cool looking pick too. I'm gonna use this guy instead, because I think I used that other guy for hill dwarves. So I at least want them to look different, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's definitely a light crossbow. Man. Oh well, alright. So let's scroll back up here. And it's gonna be hammer and pick 10%. And I think that will... finish our table. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of dwarves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of dwarves. Okay. So we'll save changes. Alright. So this is what you do in order to get the token onto the table. So we found our mountain dwarf table here, rollable table, and it had 7 entries. So we click here on token, okay, and then it placed a randomly placed mountain dwarf token onto the table. We're going to drag it over. So notice it doesn't snap to grid. Okay. So in order to fix that, you have to right click it. Okay. And then click on advanced is drawing, and it will undo this blue outline on is drawing. So now the game no longer thinks it's a drawing and knows that it's a token and will snap to grid. See? So when I right click again and hover over advanced, there is no more blue over is drawing. So it is not a drawing now. So whenever you drop a token from a table, it will automatically be checked as is drawing. So you have to uncheck it to get it to snap to grid. Okay, so the next thing is obviously this little bar that sticks out is supposed to be the front of the token, and this guy is facing the opposite way, so you're going to want to get him to face the correct direction. So you click, right click on him, okay, click on advanced, and then flip vertical. Alright, so now he's facing the correct direction, but he's left-handed. Left-handed dwarves are no good, so we right-click again, click hover over advanced, and then click on flip horizontal, and it will switch his weapon over to the other hand. Okay. Now we need to create a character sheet, or a monster sheet rather, for this guy. So under miscellaneous handouts, we've got monster sheet. So this is our generic monster sheet. This is the master copy that we do not want to overwrite. Okay, so we click on edit and we'll duplicate it, and then we're going to click on cancel, and then we're going to close it. Okay, so this is our stencil monster sheet that we don't want to write on. Okay, so now we're going to close that and scroll all the way down, and our copy of monster sheet, this is the one we're going to overwrite. Okay, so now we're going to stick it into alphabetical order in the encounters menu here. So just open up this menu, and it's going to be under D for dwarf and the dwarf subfolder, and you can already see that I've got hill dwarves here. So we're just going to grab that monster sheet and we're going to stick it right underneath hill dwarf. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to open up the character sheet, and we're going to click on the character sheet tab. And we're going to click in the name window or name field, and we're going to hit Control A to highlight all the text, and then we're going to rename it Mountain Dwarf. Hit enter, and then it will save over here. It's going to take the game a minute to process. Okay, so now it's Mountain Dwarf. Okay, so next we're going to want to find a picture for mountain dwarves. So we're going to click on the art library. You're going to want to take off your caps lock for this. The Roll20 menu does not like caps usually, and actually it'll give you different pictures if you have caps on, so that's always an option. But first we're going to click on this drop down menu, go to portraits. We're going to click on type in dwarf, and we'll find the most mountain-esque looking dwarf, mountain dwarf-esque looking picture. So mountain dwarves are supposed to have pale skin, light colored hair and eyes. So I'd like to find a pale ginger with blue eyes, if at all possible. That guy looks pretty pale. And ginger. So mountain dwarves are also taller than hill dwarves. And this guy looks like he could be pretty tall. Let's see if there are any better ones. Oh man, That one's perfect. That's gonna be my mountain dwarf. I think it was the horns that did it. That's awesome. Yeah. So the mountain dwarves are the tallest of the dwarves, lightest skinned, and fairest of them all. What is this? I can barely see that. So in order to see something close up, you can just drop it onto the grid, select it, and then press the Z key, and it will show you a close-up. Oh, that guy's got gray hair. Okay. I don't like that one. An old dwarf is not... There's too many dwarf pictures that have gray hair. Or pictures of dwarves with gray hair. Oh, jeez. This is even better. Okay, so yeah, that's a ginger, pale-skinned, tall dwarf. His proportions are very tall. Yeah, that's perfect. He's even standing on rocks. Okay. So now, we've got our perfect avatar on our character sheet. We've got our token, and we've got our proper name. Okay, so now we're going to double click on the token. Okay, and then on this drop down, we're gonna click on it and we're gonna type in mountain, and it took us right to mountain dwarf. We're gonna hit enter. And we're going to click on show nameplate. And let's see. Mountain dwarves usually have 1+1 hit dice. So the average roll, okay, hit die is a D8, okay? For monsters, the average roll on a D8 is 5, all right? So 5 + 1 is going to be 6. So your average mountain dwarf is going to have 6 HP. Okay. And they have armor class 4 and in parentheses 10. So that means they're wearing armor that gives them armor class 4, but their natural armor class is 10. So we're going to put that in here. And then their movement is 6. Okay, so we're going to put that there. All dwarves have at least 60 feet of infravision, as far as I know. And we're going to click on Has Sight, because we're using dynamic lighting. We don't want the players to know that it's a mountain dwarf, so we're not going to click on C for the name. And everything else seems to be in order. So we're going to click on Save Changes. Now we've got our mountain dwarf token. So on our character sheet, we're still in edit mode. So we're going to scroll down to where it says default token, optional. We're going to make sure that we have the token selected. Click on use selected token, and it will populate the token. It's still loading. Okay, so it populated the token. Now, the cool thing about this token is that we generated it from a rollable table. Okay, I'm going to turn the music down for a second. I really love this song, but it's kind of loud. So this dwarf token is generated from a rollable table, which means when we right click it, it has this multi-sided option. Okay, so if you hover over it and you click on choose side, you can click on any of those dwarves that we put into the rollable table. Okay, so we are going to cancel. Now, the beauty of this system is this. So I'm going to save changes so that multiple-sided token is saved to this character sheet. Now, these mountain dwarves appear in groups of 40 to 400. So at least 40 in any given encounter. So if you're traveling through the mountains and you have an encounter with mountain dwarves, there's at least 40. I would just put 40 down on the board and have the players deal with it. So the reason why we did that rollable table in the beginning is so that it will choose random weapons for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this token. I'm going to click Control-C to copy it, and I'm going to paste 4 of them to make a group of 5. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste 7 more groups to make 40 dwarves. Or actually, how about 2 groups of 20? That's 1, 2. That's too many. Okay, so there's 20 dwarves. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste another one over here. And it's loading. Is it though? Is it loading? Never can tell. How about if we try copying again, and we'll just paste this one down here. Control V to paste. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now we've got our 40 dwarves. Now if we highlight the entire group and then hover over the selected group, right click, hover over multi-sided, and then we're going to click on random side. The game will choose random weapons for us. Okay, so now we can tell that, oh, this is that dwarf that has the polearm, so he's a Lucerne hammer mountain dwarf. This is the mountain dwarf that has the battle axe. This is the mountain dwarf that has the spear and sword. This is the dwarf that has the crossbow. This is the dwarf that has the, what was it, mace and hammer or something like that. Here's the dwarf that has the pick. Okay. Alright, so now that was just an example, so I'm gonna delete all these and just go back to the first one we had. Okay, so now that this token is connected to our character sheet, if you want to open up the character sheet again without going through the menu, you can just click on the token, hold the shift button, and then double click the token, and it will open up the character sheet. Okay, so now we're going to go back into edit mode. Now this next tool I'm going to use is called Gyazo, and it lets you take a screenshot of anything that you crop. Okay, so I'm going to go into this Lomion website. I'm going to use Gyazo to take a picture of the dwarf stat block. Just the first part of it. Okay. And I'm going to paste that into the character sheet. So right click this, copy image, and I'm going to paste it right in here in the bio and info. I'm going to hold Control and press V to paste. Okay, now I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to take another screenshot of the mountain dwarf stats. And hopefully it will line up. Correctly with the first picture. Oh, I didn't realize that I had that highlighted still. Okay, so I'm gonna do that again. That's annoying. Okay. Alright, and I'm going to right click that, copy image, and go back and just paste it in. Hopefully it lines up correctly. Well, it's a little off, but we'll go with it. Number appearing 4400, armor class 4/10. Okay, just a little bit off. Alright, so now we're going to hit enter twice, and we're going to copy the text from the monster entry. So we're going to want this part up top. Okay, and then we're going to want the rest down at the bottom. Enter twice, Control V, paste, and it's going to be a little mal-aligned, just a little bit. Just hit enter once before these blue sections to separate the different sections, and you'll be good. So Habitat and Society. I think the next one is Combat, and that's it. Okay, now our bio for the monster is complete. So we'll save changes just like that. Okay, so now we've got the information about mountain dwarves right up front with the stat blocks. Okay, we've got a good picture that we can show to players. So in order to show pictures to players during an encounter, to show anything to players, we'll start with the token, I guess. So first thing I usually show is the token. I hit Shift and Z, and it will show a close-up of the token to the players. And then I drop the picture onto the board, select it, and hit Shift Z to show players. Okay. Alright, so next thing we need is to click on Character Sheet, and your typical mountain dwarf has 1+1 hit dice, so technically they are level 1, and they are a dwarf. They have no class, they have no kit. Their alignment is generally lawful good. Okay, what did we say? They had 6 HP, their AC is 4, and they move at a speed of 6. Okay, then we can skip all this because that's just for characters pretty much, and we can go straight down to the weapon table. Okay, so dwarves have a THAC0 of 19. Which essentially makes them have monster THAC0. So we're going to slide down here to where it says monster, and we're going to copy that THAC0. And then we're going to just paste it into all these windows. So Control A to highlight, Control V to paste. And it's real quick. A, C, or whoops. A, C. Okay, A, V, 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 A, V. Alright, so first thing you'll notice is this is literally built for a monster. Okay, most monsters have right claw, left claw, bite. The vast majority of them, so that's why I made that default. So the cool thing about the dwarves is they have a bunch of different weapons. So we're just going to overwrite this, but you're always going to want to keep touch attack. Because that will give you the ability to put the monster's base speed in, even if they have weapons. Okay, so base speed is a size-based speed factor. And these guys are medium creatures, and the speed factor for small and medium creatures is always 3. So we're going to put a speed factor of 3 in there. Okay, so their first weapon, we're going to go back to here. Alright, so their first weapon is the battle axe. So we're just going to overwrite battle axe. Then the next one was Warhammer. Okay, then sword and spear. Whenever it says sword, they just mean longsword. Okay, so yeah, I know it's kind of funny for dwarves to have long swords, but you know, the Tolkien dwarves had long swords in the movies, in the books. They had, you know, long swords. That's just, you know, people don't know that dwarves use swords. They just do. Okay, so we've got long sword, and then the next one was spear. Okay, and then the next one was light crossbow. So we've already got sword on there, and it's gonna be, you know, long sword. So the next one technically is light crossbow. So light crossbow. Sword and polearm. So our polearm was the Lucerne hammer that we're using. So Lucerne hammer. Alright, and we already have axe. That was the first weapon. So the next one is heavy crossbow. Heavy crossbow. Alright, man, these guys have a lot of weapons. Okay, so heavy crossbow. So we already have axe. So our next one is mace. And I like to use the footman's mace because it is one-handed and does plenty of damage. Footman's mace. You just can't use it mounted. So, unless you're a specialist, I guess. So if you're not a specialist, then you gotta use a horseman's mace. Okay, so the next one, we've already got hammer, so now we've got a pick. And you're gonna wanna put a horseman's pick. Because I believe the footman's pick is too big. You gotta use 2 hands to wield it. Okay, so we've got all of our weapons. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Horseman's pick is the 10th one. Okay, so now we're gonna fill in these check boxes and what they mean. So touch attack, you never, I don't know why that was adjusted for strength, but you never adjust touch attack for anything but your levels THAC0. So your class and level THAC0. It's never adjusted by strength. And then any melee weapon is going to be strength and damage. Okay, so the warhammer, the longsword, the spear, and then missile weapons, you're just going to use the dex box. So dex, Lucerne hammer is melee, heavy crossbow is that, footman's mace, that, and that. Okay, so just want to check and make sure that all the pluses are +0. Later on, if you actually assign stats to monsters, then it will adjust for strength and dexterity. Okay, so just if everything is +0, none of the rolls will be adjusted. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you do want to give stats to monsters though, every once in a while. Very, very rare, but every once in a while you do. Okay, so now we just fill in our stats for our weapons. So we've got battle axe. So these are the stats for the battle axe. 7 medium slashing, speed 7, d8, d8. So 7 medium slashing, and I'm tabbing to get to the next one. Speed 7, and it was d8, and I'm just gonna Control A, Control C to copy, Control A, Control V to populate, enter. And then we've got the Warhammer, whoops. Warhammer. Okay, so these are the stats of the Warhammer. The thing about the Warhammer is you can throw it, so we're just gonna copy the throw ranges. And then it's 6 medium bludgeoning, 4 d4 plus 1, 1d4. So 6 medium bludgeoning, speed 4. And it was d4 plus 1 and d4. Okay, hit enter. And our next one is longsword, so I have that memorized actually. It's a d8 and a d12, and it is weight of 4. Okay, it's medium, and it's slashing, and it is a speed of 5. It's the most common weapon in the game, so I just went ahead and memorized its stats. The next one is spear. Okay, you've got one-handed and two-handed wield. So this is the difference in how the creature wields it. So a spear, like there's no such thing as a one-handed spear and a two-handed spear. It's just a spear, and then if you hold it with one hand, it has these stats, and if you hold it with two hands, it has these stats. Okay, but it always has where it actually has the stats next to spear. No matter how you hold it, that's the stats. Okay, so I'm just gonna do the one-handed version. Alright, so, and there's no such thing as throwing a spear two-handed. That's just stupid. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I'm gonna copy that, and the stats are 5 medium piercing, speed of 6, d68. So 5 medium piercing, 6 d6 d8. Okay, next we have the light crossbow. Okay, so this is the light right here. Whoops. With a light coral. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy the range, and it is 7 medium piercing. Speed of 7. 7 medium piercing 7. D6 plus 1, D8 plus 1. Speed of 7. Okay. And it's D6. Oh. D6 plus 1, D8 plus 1. Okay, next we have the Lucerne Hammer. Alright. So the stats for Lucerne Hammer are 15 large, pierce bludgeon, speed 9, 2d4, 1d6. Large. Piercing slash bludgeoning and what was it? Speed of 9, 2d4, 1d6. 9. Two D4 and a D6. Okay, next is heavy crossbow. Okay, so that's the stats for heavy crossbow. I'll copy that, and it is 14 medium piercing. 10. D8 plus 1, D10 plus 1. Okay. 14. Medium. Piercing. Speed of 10, was it? Yeah, that's slow as hell. Speed of 10. And D8 plus 1, D10 plus 1. Okay, and then we have the Footman's Mace. Yeah. Footman's Mace. So it's 10 pounds, so 10 medium bludgeon, 7, d6 plus 1, 1d6. Ten medium bludgeoning, speed of 7, d6 plus 1 and 1d6. Speed of 7. D6 plus 1. 1d6. Then the Horseman's Pick. Alright, the Horseman's Pick. Okay. 4 medium piercing, 5. D4 plus 1, 1d4. 4. Medium. Piercing. 5. D4 plus 1. 1d4. Enter. Okay, and then the only other thing that dwarves have is the damage per attack, 1d8 by weapon. So their morale is d2 plus 12. Okay, so in morale we're going to put d2 plus 12. Enter their magic resistance. Magic resistance. All dwarves have magic resistance. Where is it? You get a special bonus to all saving throws against magical wand staves or odd spells. Dwarves receive plus 1 bonus to saving throws against these magical attacks for every 3.5 points con score they have. See table 9 of the player's handbook. Dwarves non-magical nature can also cause problems when he tries to use a magical item. 20% chance the item malfunctions. That's for player characters. So the monster doesn't get that. Okay. So gonna be slightly taller, more hardy, 1 plus 1 hit dice. That's about it, other than their intelligence is D2 plus 10. So let's see, character sheet. If you ever have to do an intelligence check for one of these monsters, so you got D2 plus 10. Enter. It's just gonna say invalid intelligence, but it'll still roll this. And then the number appearing, which is the most important part. So your standard encounter is gonna have 40. Okay. No player wants to play with a DM that's actually going to roll 40 d10 dwarves. Okay? Just keep it simple, put it 40, and then if you actually roll a stronghold of dwarves, then roll the 40 d10. Okay? So we're going to scroll up here, go to attributes and abilities, going to open up the number appearing, and we're going to put in just 40, okay? No D40, nothing, just 40 inside there. Close it up. Alright, so now I'm going to just set up an encounter just to show you how to do it. So I'm just going to delete this token real quick. I'm going to put us onto the Temperate Mountains map. Okay. So the players are in the Temperate Mountains, and you've just rolled an encounter check, and it came up mountain dwarves. So now you open up the journal tab and open up encounters, open up D for dwarf, open up the dwarf folder, and you're going to drag and drop one single dwarf token onto the board. Okay, and then you're gonna click on number appearing, and then click into chat so you can see, and it will say mountain dwarf number appearing, 40 mountain dwarfs appear. So now you click on the token, copy it. I like to do multiples of 5. Okay, 10. I guess we'll copy that, it's easier. 20, 30, 40. So now we've got our full contingent of dwarves, and we're probably going to want them to be facing the correct direction, which is probably towards the center of the map, towards the player characters. Okay, so they're still on flat surfaces. Alright, and we're going to select them all again. Okay, go into the selected token area, right click, hover over multi-sided, click on choose side, or sorry, whoops, I did that wrong. Right click, hover over multi-sided, click on random side. Okay, it's going to roll 40 dwarves for us, and you've got your encounter with mountain dwarves. So if you have any questions, just post them in the comments section under this video, and I will get a notification on my phone. Hopefully I'll be able to answer your questions quickly. If not, I will get to them as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.